speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our Saturday live question and answer class. You can leave your questions in the chat at any time, or if you're watching this later on, put your questions in a comment and I'll get back to you with resources here on the channel or on our website, speechmodification.com. At the start of class, I always have a pronunciation or American accent, intonation, fluency topic. And today our topic is, I want to talk about some typical pronunciation errors that I hear from many non-native speakers. Most of these have to do with the way the word is spelled versus the way the word sounds. And so there's things that you may not be aware of, just small errors that you might be making, and I want to point some of them out to you. Of course, you can ask me about this topic or any other topic that's going to help you be more natural, fluent, and confident when speaking English. So the first word I'd like to look at is the word says. The word says is spelled the same as the word say plus the letter S, but it does not sound the same as the word say. So in the word say, letters AY say the A diphthong, like say, day, name, etc. But in the word says, it doesn't follow our spelling patterns and rules. Our vowel in says, instead of the AY saying A like say, it's actually the vowel like in get or in read. And so it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really, it's not intuitive. You just basically have to memorize this word, that rather than saying he says or he says, that it's actually he says. Also, the letter S says the Z sound in this word, as it does in many words at the end. And so picturing it as says is going to help you correct any pronunciation differences you might have on this word. I recommend practicing it with words that also have that vowel so you can remember and match that vowel. For example, start something like he says, he says to get it. I get what he says. That way you can think of says and even visualizing it with the spelling S-E-Z, I get what he says, is going to really help you pair and match that vowel sound to avoid saying it more like says or says. That S at the end is a common thing to watch out for. It also happens on words like was, we need a Z sound there, those, does, etc. So that's another topic to look into. Where does letter S say S and where does it say Z, and how do we pronounce those naturally? That's why says is such a difficult word. There's two unexpected patterns for spelling. Similarly, we also have the past tense of he says is he said or I said. And in that word, again, we don't follow the spelling conventions. So when we look at said, again, AI is a typical way that we spell the A diphthong. Like in, for example, the word raid, we have the aid, or gain, or rain, etc. AI usually says A. But in the word said, again, it says the vowel. And so thinking of it more as being said rather than visualizing it this way is going to help you have that correct vowel. He said. Again, I get what he said. Another way to think of it. So two words, it's as long as you're learning says, makes a lot of sense to practice and learn said as well. And be careful with this one. You want to differentiate it from the word sad, which has the vowel. When I'm saying sad, my mouth is more open, the front of my tongue is down, the back of my tongue is lifted. Said, my mouth is not quite as open and my tongue is a little bit flatter generally for that vowel. So he said he was sad. You can get more help for the contrast between the and the vowel, also the A and the vowel in my Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. I walk you through all of the spelling and sounds, all of the vowels, giving you some anchor points to hold on to understanding the vowels and being able to say them correctly. And then, of course, we look at spelling patterns and rules where you can count on the rules, and then where you have to learn some exceptions. I also have some recent videos looking at spelling and writing to help you with pronunciation, so you may want to check those out here on the channel as well. Said and says are great examples of words we really just need to sight read. We look at it, remember the sounds, and we can't decode the words. We can't look at AY or AI in these words and follow the patterns and rules. They break the rules for spelling and sounds. Okay, I have a couple more words I want to talk about. I see welcome, and it's nice to see you here. I'll turn to your questions in a moment, but I want to talk about 2 more words at least where we typically have some spelling differences or some pronunciation errors because of spelling. The next word I want to look at is the word word. So the problem with the word word is that it has the letters OR. And the letters OR sometimes say or, like in for, or store, or board. But in the word word, letters OR just say the sound, like in were. So I like to think of it as the word were plus a D sound, word. So if you look at the IPA, you're going to have the vowel. And oftentimes, even if people know this, they see that those letters OR, they think they need to do something different, like the ward, or they're changing that vowel. And really, you want to just practice keeping that vowel static. The sound doesn't move. It's not a diphthong. There's no gliding into it like there is for or. You're just going to say were, word. There are several words for which OR does this, and particularly when OR is at the end, like in a word like major. This is not major, but rather major, major. So thinking of that as an Often when OR is at the end, that happens. Also often when OR is after the W sound. And I do have videos for both of these concepts, both of these ideas to help you go through lots of words. But a couple other examples would be the words work. Again, it would make more sense because it's the sound if we wrote it as work or work with IR or UR. We also spell the sound with a lot of different combinations of letters, which makes this confusing as well. So we were working on words, kind of thinking of that, them all having that same sound. We were working on words. Also true for world, although that's got a different complication with the L sound in it. I do have a number of videos talking about the word world that can help you with that. So do check those out here on the channel and on our website. So being aware of letters OR and the different sounds they can say, and particularly with these common words like work and word, being able to think of them as having that tight sound and no or. Okay, and then the last one I want to talk about is the word tomorrow. So in the word tomorrow, we have the stress on the mar syllable, tomorrow. And again, here we have the letters OR not saying or. It's not tomorrow. It's not, there's no or there. So the sounds in this word are the letter O saying the sound, t. So even though the letters TO say to, actually very often, even when we have this word to, unless I'm saying it by itself, it's going to be spoken with a schwa sound. It's going to sound like ta. So that happens in today, tomorrow, tonight. Also in go to the changes to a t or a flap sound depending on the context. You rarely say a true oo sound in to. Where we do say the oo sound is in this word to, as in I'll go to, or in the number 2. Otherwise, we pretty much usually use a schwa there. Also in these words where the letters TO are not stressed at the start of the word. If it were Tuesday, which is a different spelling, or tonight, we would use the true oo sound, but it's not. It's tomorrow, tonight, today. So we have a schwa there. So for tomorrow, t, and then we have the stress falls on the second syllable ma with the ah vowel. And then lastly, the OW does say O, like in no or snow. So we have the O diphthong. So tomorrow. So again, when you're hearing this around you, tomorrow, that sounds natural. You just might be seeing those letters TO and thinking you need to do tomorrow or tomorrow. This middle vowel is a little different in different dialects of English. In British English, it might be a little bit tomorrow, morrow. They have a slightly different rounding vowel there. In American English, nice open unrounded vowel, tomorrow. And as I mentioned, this is also true for today, tonight, thinking about that being very light and short and using the schwa on that first syllable. Okay, so we had says, said, word, work, tomorrow, today, tonight. So just a few common everyday words we use all of the time that you might be making either a pretty big pronunciation error on or a small one. But all of those will affect how you sound when you're speaking English, and also just making yourself clear and being well understood. It's helpful to have information about the correct pronunciation and just some tips for where relying on the way a word is spelled might let you down for how the word is pronounced. Okay, nice to see so many of you here today. Welcome. Happy solstice, everyone. The days are getting longer from here on out, so it's nice to see everyone here this morning. I'll turn to your questions. We have a question from Catherine about the word diamond. So that's a great example, again, of if I look at how this is spelled, I might think like diamond or diamond. It's hard to know from these vowel letters what sounds we have here. But in American English, we basically say just two syllables, not dia, but rather just die with the I diphthong stressed on this syllable. And then the O is basically a schwa here. So almost no vowel. I'm going to go right from my sound to my n, diamond, mend. So I'll write it with no vowel. The IPA is going to be first syllable stress, the I diphthong, and then you might see a schwa written there between the and the n, but it's very, very short and reduced. Diamond. So it was a large diamond, a diamond ring. He invested in diamonds. If I add the letter S, I'm going to have the Z sound for that plural, diamonds. Very good. Yeah, that is a difficult word because of the different speech patterns in it, as well as how it's spelled. Thank you for that request. Okay, we have a question about the word afterwards, especially the RW in the middle, followed by R. Okay, so for afterwards, here's another example of, it looks like maybe it should be an R sound for letters AR, but in this context, the WAR says the sound. So in the word war or warm, letters AR say the OR sound. So this war is the same as wore. I wore my clothes. So they wore their uniforms to war. But in afterwards, the stress is on the first syllable, after. So we have the a vowel, and then we have two ers in a row. So we have after, that T is not really, it's pretty much unaspirated because it comes after the F, after. So you can think about it like a really light little D sound or just a light T, after. And then we have the words, another sound there. And again, our S says a Z. So thinking about it like after words. Afterwards. We had a nice evening, we went to the party, and afterwards we took an Uber home. afterwards. So you were saying that this part is hard for you. You might try backwards chaining on this word. So I would build from the sound, do were, words, der words, afterwards. So really trying lengthening here and being light, but still keeping your tight American on der and words. Yeah, that's an excellent word. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't think I have a video for that yet, so that's going to be useful for a lot of people that you asked that question today. Okay, we have a question about the words nausea, nauseous, and nauseated. Okay, so for nausea, it sounds like we have vowel ah in the first syllable, and it's stressed. And then this is an example of letter S saying the zh sound, like it does in visual or measure. That's basically the same shape as an SH, sh, but my voice is on. Zh, that's the symbol for it. And then you can say it as nausea or just nausea. Most people will just reduce it to the schwa sound. So it sounds like nausea. But then when we go to nauseated, we change nauseated, and this zh becomes a z sound. So then we have nauseated. The TED has a flap, so I'm writing it as a D sound. As I move from nauseated, we have a little vowel to vowel linking there. We've talked about that recently on the channel, that when we move from the high front E vowel to the A vowel, EA, there should just naturally be a little gliding Y sound that happens. So nausea and then nauseated. And then for nauseous, we go back and we have yet another pronunciation for that letter S. It becomes nauseous. So we now have the SH sound for that letter S. So he felt nauseous, or the terrible smell was nauseous. So the other thing to know with these words is that people misuse or they interchange nauseous and nauseated. Technically, nauseated is the description of a person, how they feel after they experience something nauseous. So nauseous is the adjective describing something that makes you feel nauseated. Nausea is just the noun for the feeling. So if I have nausea, I feel nauseated, and there was something nauseous, something that made me feel nauseated. But people will say, I feel nauseous, to mean I feel nauseated. And that's kind of just an error that people use in terms of use of these words. I believe they're going to eventually be interchangeable where you can use nauseous that way. But right now, if you're trying to be correct, extra correct, use nauseated for the feeling and nauseous for something that creates nausea. Yeah, okay, good. So a little bit tricky, and a great example of how spelling is not going to really show you what sounds there are in a word. Letter S says lots of things in the middle of words. It says the sh, the zh, the z, and the s sound. And so you being able to look up words in the dictionary, read those symbols, and know which one you're looking for. Or, of course, you can always leave a comment with a question on this video or any of my videos. I have a lot of videos covering words like the ones you've mentioned and showing you what letter S does, looking at spelling versus sounds to really help you improve and feel confident in your pronunciation. Okay, thanks so much. We have a question, words beginning with CO. Looking at your examples, you wanted to know about words like collapse, and correct. So both of these words are examples of the letter CO are unstressed. So in collapse, the stress falls on the lapse syllable, which means my letter O is going to be the schwa sound. It's going to sound like So if we spelled it more the way it sounds, we would write it with a U or UH, like collapse. And then we have the laps sound. So there are words where CO can be stressed at the start and it's going to have a different sound, like in coordinate, it's going to be a co sound, coordinate. But in collapse and correct, both of these are examples of the first syllable being unstressed, letter CO just say the k sound. So same idea in correct. Our stress falls on the rect syllable, which means our k is just going to be short with a very reduced vowel. For words like these, I recommend starting on the stressed syllable and getting that clear vowel and then just adding the k sound back. For example, you would say lapse, collapse, rect, correct. That can really help you keep that letter CO rather than saying like correct or collapse. It can help you reduce that vowel. Correct, collapse. So sometimes CO is going to be stressed. In the dictionary, you can look for this little line before the stressed syllable, or you can start to learn to listen for where is the clear vowel and where is the length in the word. That will be the stressed syllable and likely to have a clear vowel, whereas the unstressed syllables often will have a reduced vowel like an or an I sound. For letter O, it's usually Great question. Thank you so much. Okay. We have a question about the word ultimate. Okay, so it's telling you that in the word ultimate, that the AI is hearing you say it more as an sound. That means you probably have a typical pattern for many people, which is when they're trying to say the or schwa sound, they end up saying more of an sound. So I do have a video talking about the difference between and like nut and not. So when you're saying ultimate, you're probably opening too far on the so you're probably saying it more like ultimate, or even all the way to You're probably not really saying ultimate, but you're probably opening too far and you have too much tension in your first stressed syllable. When the vowel schwa is stressed, it is a clear vowel, but we still don't open very far and we don't add a lot of tongue pressure down. So when I'm saying nut, my tongue is resting at the bottom of my mouth, but it's pretty relaxed and my mouth is not very open. Nut. When I open to not, much more open, the tongue is pressing down to make a lot of space for that vowel. So what I would say is a couple things. You could say, try doing some 2-word phrases like just ultimate. And notice that in your just, it might be easy for you to use that schwa because it's going to go by fast. It's probably going to be the unstressed schwa. But you want to hear the same sound. If I'm saying some ultimate, just ultimate, I want to hear that and sound in both. This one's just going to be held a little bit longer. So 2-word phrases with matching might help you. And also saying, for example, the ultimate finish. So any other word where ultimate is not your stressed word, if you just start on it and say it, you're more likely to be opening too much ultimate. If you're saying it was the ultimate day, it was the ultimate experience, it was the ultimate finish. If you're doing ultimate quickly in the context of a sentence, it might be easier for you to use the correct vowel on that letter U. After class, if you leave me a comment or a note, I'll direct you to the video I have for schwa versus It's really helpful for a lot of people because many people have that error that you're mentioning, and they struggle with putting that schwa in and not being too open or too stressed. Thank you. I hope that helped you with that word. Okay. Very good. Yes, it's hard because there is no schwa or no in your native language. So just working on that sound, what words it's in, and being able to relax the tongue more, you'll get there eventually. And wonderful. I would love to have the opportunity to work with you and help you with that. So you can check out my one-on-one training on my website, speechmodification.com. Okay. Thank you so much for your feedback and your comments. And yes, some of the words we've covered today were challenging. I hope that at the beginning, some of those words were eye-opening in terms of how they were spelled and the sounds. I'll take a few more questions if you have them. And I do want to wish you a happy solstice. So I want to talk about the word solstice today. So the solstice is in the winter solstice is the shortest day, and the actual time of the solstice was in the middle of the night last night. But from here on out, the days will get longer each day, and for many of us living in places that have a pretty long night this time of year, it's something to be optimistic about and look forward to. It's something that was long celebrated by humans all over the earth. And anyway, so I'm excited about the solstice today. And to pronounce it, we have first syllable stress, sol, like in the Latin for the sun. So it's also the same as the word soul. So we have the O diphthong, soul. And then we have a short and reduced second syllable, stis, with the I sound, and letters CE say this sound. So you can think about it like soul or soul, whatever is easiest for you to picture that ol, like we have in whole or goal. Even you could think of it as soul, because we have the word goal, where OA says the O sound, and then just a light stis, solstice. So I don't know if the solstice is something that you care about or you have to say, but I did want to make a quick mention of it and how to pronounce it here at the end of class today. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful solstice, and whatever holidays you're celebrating, we will be back next Saturday, so one more class before the end of the year. And if I don't see you in that class, Happy New Year. I hope you have, wish you glad tidings for 2025, and best of luck in the things you're working on, improving your American English pronunciation, American accent, and more. Thanks so much for a great class today, wonderful questions, and so nice to see all of you here. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.